Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And today is Taco Tuesday.
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos.
It's raining tacos out in the street. Tacos, all you can eat. Lettuce and shells, cheese and meat. It's raining tacos. Yum, 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 yummity yum. It's like a treat.
Oh, that's right. Today is Taco Tuesday, where we celebrate, well, tacos. Because tacos are worth celebrating. And for us, the meal today for lunch was fish tacos. So enjoyed some good fish tacos for lunch today. Don't know what kind of tacos you had, but if you had tacos today, why don't you tell us? Go ahead and let us know in the comments section. Let us know what's up. How did you get down today? What did your tacos look like for you today? Let us know. So it's just going to be us today. Once again, Mike is still unavailable, still out there doing his thing. But hey, guess what? We're here. I'm here. You're here. So do me a favor. Give me a comment. Don't have me here all by my lonesome. Go ahead and comment. Talk in the comment section, whether you're watching us on YouTube, whether you're watching us on Rumble, or you're watching us on Facebook. Go ahead and give us a comment and let us know what's up. What do you think about what we're talking about today? And if I find the comment to be interesting, I will go ahead and I'll share it with the audience. So go ahead and do that today. And then also want to make sure, if you haven't already done so, please make sure like, share, and subscribe. Let folks know how you're partaking of the program. Whether you're watching us live, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, or whether you're watching us, recorded. Maybe you're listening to the program in one of the many places where you can find us on podcast or on Spotify. However you are partaking of the program, do me a favor. Make sure that you have liked and you subscribed, and make sure you're sharing via your social media, letting other folks know that this is the place where we're talking about 2A news with conservative views. And let's go ahead and get into the news program today. But you know what we got to do first? Got to give that quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to start off with Hitman Industries. They sell rifle and pistol length barrels. All you got to do is go to hitmanindustries.net. You will find what you need, and you'll also be able to find it at a discount if you're a first responder and this is your first time purchasing from them. So go there, check them out today. Chances are, if you own an AR that's recently been purchased, chances are you already have one of their barrels, and I'm sure you love it. So go ahead and get another one, hitmanindustries.net. Then we've got the California Republican Assembly working to help elect conservatives to all levels of government, from school board all the way up to President of the United States. Ronald Reagan once referred to CRA as the conscience of the Republican Party. So do yourself a favor. Go and check them out at cragop.org. That's cragop.org, and become a member today. Then we've got Hog Holsters. You can find them at hogholsters.com, the best in concealed carry and tactical holsters. Inside the waistband, outside the waistband, whatever firearm you have, whatever setup you have on it, whatever, optics you have, whatever light you may have, trust me, they have the setup for you. All you got to do is go to hogholsters.com. Make sure you use the discount code. It's The Rundown. The Rundown. All one word, all caps, no spaces, just like it is right up there, and get yourself a discount on us. That's hogholsters.com. Then we've got once again, the place to go for all of your outdoor gear needs, whether you're talking cold weather, hot weather, wet weather. They have what you need. They have a phenomenal selection. They have a really good pricing and fast shipping. Just go to uscombatgear.com. They have all things tactical except the gun. All right, now that gets us to our news story today. Reported kind of near the end of the program yesterday that Donald Trump had announced his selection for vice president, his running mate, and that was J.D. Vance, the senator from Ohio. Now he's I believe the junior senator, because he's only, He's been in the Senate since 2023, so he's basically been in the Senate a little over a year. But he's had a major impact in just that year. In fact, it's kind of interesting to hear what the Democrats have to say, because on one hand, you have them talking about J.D. Vance being very, very Trumpy. But then on the other hand, Chuck Todd's kind of like, well, he probably would have been right at home on, the Democrats party, on the Democrat Party ticket in 1984. Check out what the little panel over on MSNBC had to say about the selection of J.D. Vance.
So Chuck, obviously, Joe Biden was ready for Lester's question about J.D. Vance. And in J.D. Vance, the Biden campaign got who they most wanted, arguably. But in a new NBC News piece, you write, the Biden campaign is relieved the pick wasn't Rubio, that both Rubio and Burgum would have been harder to pigeonhole as MAGA acolytes. Is J.D. Vance the best the Biden camp could have hoped for?
Well, if you believe in the Biden campaign's theory of the case is that they can create sort of this binary choice for the middle of the road voter, which is, hey, you may not love sort of our positions on X, Y, and Z, but look at how extreme the MAGA agenda is, and J.D. Vance is like MAGA plus type of mindset. So that's what they want to do. And the fact of the matter is, this is what I think is the big story so far of this convention is this, and we've been watching it grow. And the question has always been, is this Trump or is this going to be more than just Trump? And it's pretty clear the sort of through line of Republican conservatism that began with sort of Eisenhower, the modern version of conservatism, Chris, that you and I grew up with, that began with Eisenhower. It's time of death, right? Basically when Donald Trump came down the escalator. And if the Trump Vance ticket gets elected, that wing of the party is going to be in the wilderness for a generation. And the question I have is, what happens to those voters? I don't know if the Biden campaign is well positioned to appeal to them, but they're certainly going to try, because I think they see an opportunity here. And you've already seen some of it. I mean, look, J.D. Vance and the Teamsters president last night, this is an ideology that would have been very comfortable in the Democratic Party of Walter Mondale in 1984.
It's wild just to hear you say that out loud. And Meredith, yeah.
And that's the thing. And the reason why he said that is this, is keep in mind the Democratic Party in 1984 was not, while it was liberal, it was not as nearly as culturally whacked out as it is now. It wasn't nearly challenging culture the same way in which it's challenging culture now. Where you're talking about here, and there's a little bit of a difference, has to do with the difference in protectionism of the economy, of the American economy and the American worker, and the belief in the free market economy, or allowing the market to decide to kind of the free market to kind of hash things out. So this is a piece over at investing.com that actually I think does a decent job of kind of pointing out some of the fundamental positions that are taken by J.D. Vance, and you'll kind of see some of the differences between where he's at and where a lot of some Republicans are. Now, if you come down here, first of all, it talks about abortion. It says Vance has long been an opponent of abortion rights. Well, he's been pro-life. He's supportive of protecting a child in the womb. It says though he appears to have position on this issue recently, currently has a policy preference to be largely in line with those of Trump. And one of the things that he's done when it comes to the abortion issue is he's kind of saying, I'll tell you what, it's something that should be decided at the state level, right? Now, obviously, that's not a position that many of us who are in the pro-life community are. Obviously, those of us who are in the pro-life want to do our best to try and protect life in the womb and protect the innocent child in their mother's womb. But the reality is also he is doing the electoral math the same way that Donald Trump is, and recognizing that abortion is the only issue where the Republican Party as a whole is generally has a position that is not consistent with a majority of voters. The majority of voters believe that abortion should be legal, although rare. They believe in it being available in the first trimester. And I think that while he's not willing to go as far as saying that's his position, he is willing to say that states ought to make that decision, that people in local communities, and in some states like the state of California, they're not going to decide that to be the case. But in states like, say, Alabama or or say Oklahoma, they're going to have a different position, and so they're going to be able to be as pro-life as they want to be in their state. And I think that's a safe position. And really what that is, and this is where I think J.D. Vance really kind of mirrors to a certain degree Donald Trump, in that he's willing to make his positions somewhat malleable in order to get to where he wants to be. Now, he does it to the point where I'll say this. He looks at where the law is now, and he says, if I take this position, it's not 100% where I want to be, but does this position take me closer to where I want to be? In other words, do I advance the ball with this position? And in this particular case, on abortion, when you consider what is going on now nationally with abortion, yes, it does move the ball in our direction, because that's where we're at right now. The states are deciding, right? So once again, I think that's a safe position for him to take. Once again, not totally consistent with what I would like to see, but it's better than a sharp stick in the eye. Anyway. So that's where he is right there. So he softened his position a bit. Now in Ukraine, Vance has been a fierce opponent of aid to Ukraine, and he has said at times that he has expressed even more skepticism of American involvement with the conflict than Trump. America's European allies are widely concerned about Vance's selection as a running mate. Now, this is an interesting position and one to note, because, and this is a little bit more of an isolationist. And when I say isolationist, I mean, look at it this way. Unless you believe that it is to America's advantage, unless you believe there is no harm, there is no negative that will come to American standing in the world, there is no danger that will come to us in terms of foreign policy if Putin were to basically win this war, if he were able to take and keep everything that he took in and basically just take over Ukraine. Unless you believe that is to our advantage, or at the very least it's not to our disadvantage, then you have to believe that we need to do something to make sure that this war is won. And when I say won, I'm not talking about completely kicking Russia out. I don't believe that is possible. I believe that taking a perspective of, let's find out and identify what's it going to take for us to end this war, and be able to basically put a backstop on it. That largely would be no more advancement, trying to basically keep them from advancing, and then putting things in place to keep them from being able to go forward and continue to advance or attack or go into Ukraine in the future. Sadly, the Biden administration has said we're with them till the end without ever declaring or identifying what the end is. And I think to a certain degree here, what he is saying is, look, Europe needs to step up. They have not funded to the degree that the United States has funded the war in Ukraine. And if this is going to continue to be funded, it ought to come from them. Now, this is inconsistent with some of the more interventionist. When I say interventionist, some people would say empire building. The people on the left would say empire building that the United States has been trying to do. I don't know how you call that empire building, but anyway, I digress. But for some reason, they've decided that this is the war to win. Now, I also happen to agree with Vance in that, let's be honest, Ukraine has as much corruption as does the Russian government. Now, I'm not saying that they are not just in fighting a war to protect themselves and protect their land, but we're sending an awful lot of money over there, and we don't know exactly where it's going and what exactly it's funding. So I think he's got some legitimate concerns there, but that's probably, the Republican Party itself is split when it comes to Ukraine. Although I think we all agree that if we send anything, whatever we send, we need to make sure that it's accounted for. Let's see here. Trade policy. Vance is a consistent proponent of trade barriers, particularly with respect to China. He argues that tariffs are necessary to protect domestic industry from unfair competition abroad. And once again, while he is not wrong, there's also a understanding of exactly what these trade barriers do, what these tariffs do. Contrary to popular belief, the manufacturers, the people who send the products over here, don't pay tariffs. American consumers pay tariffs because it increases the cost of the product. That's just the reality of it. And so, number one, it means higher prices for Americans. So, number one, you got to be okay with that. But it also means that they are going to retaliate. And in particular, when you're talking about China, China is a huge market. And so if they retaliate, which, by the way, in some cases, they've already got tariffs and things like that in place. And when they retaliate, know that it's also going to mean that there's going to be, our products are going to go. And by the way, they don't care if their consumers have to pay higher prices. They really don't. So keep in mind that that's going to affect our ability to be able to export to other countries, which is going to affect bottom line jobs here in the United States. So to act as if there is that there's no consequences, there are consequences, and the threat of tariffs have a greater positive impact than the tariffs themselves. So, and this is, by the way, very much this is very much a more democratic leaning policy. You'll see many free market people come out and say that this is a bad idea. I'm pretty sure some of the best economists, but conservative economists in particular in the world, will say, yeah, tariffs like this are a bad idea. They disagree with them. And then you've got those who basically are like, yeah, I'm down with Trump. So they've changed their mind on taxes. I mean, it used to be taxes was like, that was the line in the sand. That's the line you dare not cross. Well, Donald Trump got to cross it. And, he has not paid the price for it, largely because he's so good on other things. Once again, I'll tell you, we don't have to agree with Donald Trump on everything. I think the mistake that a lot of these folks are making when they talk about the quote-unquote remaking of the Republican Party, I think a lot of it has to do with, they think it has something to do with where Trump stands on issues. It has nothing to do with where Trump stands on issues. It has everything to do with who Donald Trump is, and who he has chosen to take the fight to. And that's largely because they've chosen to take the fight to him. They've identified themselves. I'm talking the mainstream media. I'm talking about Democratic leadership. I'm talking about those in academia. I'm talking about left-wing foreign leaders who've socialistic foreign leaders who've decided that they want to institute social programs instead of paying for their own national defense. He's taken on the deep state. He's taking on the bureaucrats. That's more about why people support Donald Trump. And I will just say this again, and I will forever say this: being Donald Trump only works for Donald Trump. In many cases, it has harmed them. In many cases, it has harmed candidates. Let's look here. Where is he on corporate power and regulation? Says Vance has been critical of corporate America in general, and he has even expressed some support for Biden administration's trust-busting efforts, which is notable given that free market capitalism was, until recently, a central tenet of republicanism. Now, I will say this. I think that his position on this has more to do with what corporations have become than it does the free market. In many cases, you have the DEI, CRT, cultural Marxists who've been educated in the most prestigious or formerly prestigious universities in the country, and they're not interested in free market. They're not interested in their company making as much money or maximizing profits or doing well or providing a quality product, good, or service. They're interested in reshaping and reforming America and getting paid a boatload of money at the same time. That's what they're doing. That's what the executives over at Vanguard are doing. That's what the executives over at BlackRock are doing. That's what the folks who are running Walt Disney are doing. That's what the folks who are running Target are doing. And we see it time and time again. They're making decisions that are destroying their bottom lines when it comes to investments. But at the same time, they believe that they're making a shift in culture. So, and they're doing so right in line with academia, with their friends over in academia and their friends over in the Democratic controlled government. So I think it's more he's fighting that than his position on then it has more to do with that than his position on free market capitalism, because I think he would argue that corporations are no longer operating in a free market in the United States when you start partnering with mainstream media and with a particular political party or political agenda. You're no longer operating in a free market. While the steadfast opponent of aid to Ukraine, Vance has consistently stood by Israel. That is consistent with Trump's position, so we know that's a good one. January 6th attack. Vance has consistently downplayed the severity of the January 6th attack on U.S. Capitol supporters. He has not, absolutely positively has not downplayed it. He has said the exact same thing that we said. Look, there were people, most of the people who went to Trump's rally on January 6th went there, they went to the rally, and they left peacefully. A minority of them went to the Capitol, right? And the majority of those who went to the Capitol went there, they were peaceful. When things started to get out of hand, they didn't participate. A small percentage, a minority of people who participated went into the Capitol. Most of those who went into the Capitol, a lot of them didn't even know they weren't even supposed to be in there. They were ushered in or escorted in or let in by the folks at the door. So they walked in. But there were people who engaged in violence. There were people who destroyed property. There were people who went and they went places they knew they were not supposed to go and did things they knew they were not supposed to do. And they should pay the price. They should. And what's happened, though, is that they've spent so much time, energy, and effort going after those folks that now we're finding out that, yeah, you over-prosecuted a huge number of them. And a lot of them, they're going to have to let them out of jail now because they violated their constitutional rights by overcharging them. So, I don't know, playing the quote-unquote playing down thing, I don't know. Anyway, I'll just put it to you this way. The thing about J.D. Vance is this, is that he chooses and has chosen positions that are consistent with Donald Trump's. He's been malleable on his positions to a point where he can be consistent with President Trump without. In other words, he's saying, I don't need to get exactly to where I need to be. I just know that the positions that I take that are consistent with President Trump advance the ball. So I'm okay and I'm good there. Now, the advantage to J.D. Vance is he is a much more effective communicator when it comes to policy on these issues. And that's why Democrats are scared. They are scared because he is much more able to articulate the importance of and the impact of policy in these areas. He was not selected because he's a good political win. I think Trump realized, I don't need someone who's going to bring something politically. I need someone who's going to help me on the Hill. I need someone who's going to help me legislatively. I need someone who's going to help me communicate within the media about why we stand where we stand and what our positions are. And for that, you are not going to find there aren't many people who are going to be better at it than J.D. Vance. Dude is the real deal. He doesn't have a lot of experience. Like I said, he's only been a senator for a little over a year, but his ability to understand and articulate on these issues, he's already demonstrated that dude has the chops to do this job. And he's made it very clear he's got the chops to do this job. Anyway, so I am much more, after diving in a little deeper, I'm much more enthused about the selection. All right, moving right along. And now this was something that I think you're going to find interesting. So Secret Service had actually uncovered a plot by the Iranian government to assassinate Donald Trump. All right. Now this, by the way, was before. This had nothing to do. First of all, this had nothing to do with what actually happened on Saturday. Nothing to do with that. At least right now, there's no ties. Nothing saying that it was related. It says here the Secret Service boosted security for former President Donald Trump after learning about a suspected Iranian plot to assassinate him. Multiple outlets reported on Tuesday, which is today. Though the scheme appears to be unrelated to Saturday's shooting targeting Trump at the Pennsylvania rally. Sources with the matter told CNN and the New York Times U.S. authorities had gained intelligence about a possible plot in recent weeks by Iran to ramp up security measures ahead of Trump's planned rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. Both outlets report there is no indication the Iranian plot was connected to Saturday's shooting, in which a bullet grazed Trump's ear, which authorities say was carried out by 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks. The Iranian plot reportedly stems from Trump's 2020 order to kill Major General Qasem Soleimani, the former commander of the Iranian's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Now, the one thing about this that I find interesting is that the security that they had there was ramped up. If that was ramped up security, I would really hate to see what security would have been like had there not been an Iranian plot out there. Had no one been talking about potentially going after Donald Trump. I would love to know exactly what that would have looked like, what the security that they would have had would actually look like. Because I'm not buying this one. I'm just going to say this. Secret Service has a lot of explaining to do. There is absolutely, positively no way this makes sense. And the more we're learning that some folks that law enforcement had a run-in with this guy 30 minutes before, that people saw the guy climbing up on top of the thing. I showed you the video yesterday where from the time those folks that were standing there identified him and were yelling at the cops telling them that the guy was up there, it was 2 minutes before he shot. And the whole time nobody thought to get Donald Trump off the stage? Really? Folks, it is a failure of epic proportion. And I have absolutely no idea. Anyway, some heads have got to roll. If nobody gets fired behind this, and when I say nobody, I mean at the very least, the head of the Secret Service needs to be fired. That's at the very least. Obviously, whoever was responsible for overseeing the advance, evidently this area, this rooftop was identified as a potential problem. So they knew that it was a problem, and you didn't think to have anybody stationed there. Maybe put someone up on the roof or have something pointed at the roof so that you could take a look and see. And if there was somebody stationed there or there was somebody who was keeping an eye on it, what were they looking at? I mean, there's just so many questions. And now we find out they already supposedly this was an elevated response. This was a ramped up response. Well, man, if this was ramped up, I really would hate to see what a kickback response would look like. I would really, I'll tell you, I think to a certain degree, though, I think sometimes people overestimate. I think they overestimate these folks in terms of the quality of protection. And I'll give you an example. When I was brand new in politics, we're talking the early 90s. Just hadn't been out of school that long, was just getting active, and I remember there was a thing going on. It was an election day thing where they were doing, it was a rally or something like that regarding an initiative. And I remember Pete Wilson was governor, and I remember we're at this venue, and they want people to get up and kind of stand behind the governor as he gives, a speech or results or anything like that. Now, mind you, I'm brand new. Most of the people there did one or two people knew who I was, but I was they knew me, but I was brand new. Nobody knew me. And they put me in the crowd behind the governor because, they want to have a little color in the crowd. And I'm literally from here to my wall right there behind the governor of the state of California, the governor of the fifth largest economy in the country. And I'm like, Nobody frisked me. Nobody made sure I wasn't armed. I wasn't wanded or anything. And here I was right there. Now, for current presidents, because when I had the opportunity to meet President Bush, the security was much, much better. I will just tell you that. But for former presidents, evidently it ain't much better than that. As we saw from the quality of his detail. By the way, did y'all notice something? At the convention, I wonder, maybe I should pull up a video. Did you notice how his Secret Service detail changed? All of a sudden, all of his Secret Service detail was a lot taller. They were a lot more masculine, meaning a lot more male, no women. His detail all of a sudden seemed to get a whole lot more serious after the Saturday event. Anyway, I just think, and by the way, there's a lot of stuff that's out there about, DEI and all of that. And I'm just like this. If they were not the best of the, I'm sorry, protecting our president and our former presidents need to be the best of the best. And I'm finding it hard based on what I saw to believe that those were the best of the best. The women and the men. Just saying. Because there's no reason that should have happened. And it's a failure of that team. Now, I don't know who on that team exactly is to blame, but it's a team loss, shall we say. All right, and that then brings us to our next story, because next we're going to be talking about a win by our friends over at the Firearms Policy Coalition. We have another win for FPC, and it has to do with 2A age limits, or age limits when it comes to the ability to be able to purchase firearms. And this is being reported by the folks over at Bearing Arms. Let me get that over. And it says here, 8th Circuit Court of Appeals carry bans for under 21s violate the Second Amendment. It says Minnesota's ban on concealed carry for adults younger than 21 violates the Second Amendment, according to a 3-judge panel in the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals, which upheld a district court decision that found the state's statute unconstitutional. On Tuesday, the 8th Circuit affirmed a lower court decision affirmed a lower court decision. Oh, excuse me, got that cough bang. Giving Second Amendment Foundation, Firearms Policy Coalition, and Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus, and several individual plaintiffs a huge victory, as well as teeing up a potential appeal to the Supreme Court by Minnesota Attorney General and longtime anti-2A advocate and cultural Marxist Keith Ellison. Ooh, I'm putting this cough button to work. So, and we all know, I mean, this is just another line, another case where rights are being protected. If you are an adult over the age of 20, over the age of 18, you are legally and civilly responsible for the decisions that you make. You get to vote. Why is it all of your constitutional rights get thrown out of the window? I say constitutional rights get thrown out of the window because they don't like guns. Especially, we're talking a constitutionally enumerated right, the right to keep and bear arms. The Firearms Policy Coalition, once again, fighting the right. And I'm just going to tell you, if you're not members of FPC, you need to go there, firearmspolicy.org, go to firearmspolicy.org. I'm going to tell you, they ramped up. And I'll tell you, Brandon Combs over there they focused a lot on legislation. When I was there full time and I was doing my thing there full time, my main focus was on legislation, because that's what people wanted to hear about, right? But Brandon made the decision, and they started to really kind of pivot and focus a lot of their more of their attention on litigation, because they realized that if you killed a bill, next year they just reintroduced the same bill. So they kept coming back, and they kept coming back. But by winning in the courts, makes it a lot harder for them to keep coming back and passing these laws, because the laws have already been deemed unconstitutional. And he made that switch before Bruin. So when Bruin hit, FPC was in a perfect position to be able to do a lot of this stuff. And, between them, Gun Owners of America and the Second Amendment Foundation, they have been doing a phenomenal job. And FPC in particular, with communicating with newer or younger gun owners, has been doing a phenomenal job. So yeah, like I said, if you're not a member over at FPC, you should join. Kick them down a few bucks. Let them know what's up. Good folks over there. And when you join, make sure you tell Brandon I said hi. All right, and finally, at least in terms of our news reporting, Gavin Newsom signed a bill. That's right, Gavin Newsom signed a bill, and you're going to love what this bill does. This bill, basically, he signs a first-in-the-nation bill banning schools' transgender notification policies, meaning a school district is not allowed to have a policy that says you have to alert parents if a child comes to school and says, I want to change my gender. I want to be, I at home, I am Billy. At school, I want to be Wilhelmina. I want to now play on the girls' soccer team instead of the boys' soccer team. And I want you to refer to me instead of he, him. I want you to refer to me as Z's, as Zuz, Zoo, Zickum. Anyway. Now, the interesting thing about this bill is that this is something that I caught. It doesn't prohibit schools from notifying parents. It says they can't have a policy requiring it. So it's not as bad as I think folks on our side are portraying it to be, but it's not good either, because school boards in particular, they represent the community. They represent the values of the community. And the values of the community are such that we believe this is something the parents have a right to know or should know, and that's quite frankly where I happen to be on this one. I think that when you have a community where you say, look, those who are transgender, LGBTQ, they have a much higher degree, something like a 50% more likely to engage in suicidal ideation. You tell me that my child has a condition or is dealing with something that increases the likelihood of them wanting to commit suicide by 50%. I believe that I as a parent need to know that. I as a parent need to get that information. And I think school boards who decide to pass those policies, well, they ought to be able to pass those policies. I am quite sure that school districts should sue, if for no other reason than, look, we should have. We're the ones that are tasked and are elected to oversee the education of the kids in this community, right? I'm a school board member. This is something that's within our purview. And you should not impose your values on our community, because they are very different, especially in a state like California, where you've got places like Redding, California, which is very conservative, and you've got places like San Francisco, which, is largely batshit crazy. But, forgive my French. So that bill will be taking effect here at the beginning of the year. But yeah, he went ahead and he signed it. Bah humbug. All right, well, let's see now. That then brings us to the best part of the program, and that is parting shots. And parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Make sure you use discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your hog holster today. Now, we talked a little bit about the Secret Service, and, some folks, I'll be honest, I've seen the conspiracy theories out there. In fact, just before I came on the air today, I know a couple of people who are arguing over whether or not it was literally, they were arguing over whether or not it was insane to insinuate that what happened was a plant, or that it was a fake, or that it was a setup by the government. I'll tell you, the more I'm learning, the more I'm realizing it ain't as quite as far-fetched that it could have been a setup by the government, because the problem is that you either have to believe that they're really that incompetent, or that it was a setup. And according to the folks over at the Babylon Bee, the folks, fake news that you can count on, that's called satire, Secret Service director assures Nation she wasn't trying to get Trump killed. She's just extremely incompetent. And I'll just say it again, you got to believe it's one or the other. Because yeah. It's got to be one or the other because it's really hard to believe that. Yeah, it's got to be one or the other. Which then raises the question because you've got two candidates, one of which that clearly the government is refusing to protect the way they need to, and the other one, well, he's dying right before our eyes, which then raises the question, also according to the Babylon Bee, political analysts predict the winner of the presidential race will probably be the one who survives till November. And based on what we've seen, that ain't guaranteed for either one, but the good Lord has demonstrated that he's keeping Trump around for a reason, because there's no way you can watch what happened. And I realize, had his head been turned forward instead of to the side, we would be mourning Donald Trump right now. So, and he even admits it. He's like, I'm not supposed to be here. So, and I'm wondering if I think Democrats took that to mean he thought he would have been sentenced to jail by now, but nope. Anyway, but all of that having been said, the new running mate of President Trump, well, he's not taking any chances. Says here, Vance dons helmet and body armor in preparation to run with Trump. Because, yeah, considering the fact that he's considered ultra MAGA Trump, I called him Trump Jr. Ain't quite so, because first of all, he's as good as Trump. I mean, he's with Trump on all the issues, and he articulates them better. So I'm not going to call him Trump Jr. But yeah, no, it's going to be, once again, it's going to be really interesting to see how this campaign settles out. All right, folks, so that brings us to the end of the program. But you know what we do before we go? We always give a quick shout out to our sponsors. We've got Hitman Industries. Just go to hitmanindustries.net. Rifle and pistol length barrels available for you today. We got the California Republican Assembly. If you want to be a part of California's future today, join CRA. And then you've got Hog Holsters. You can find them at hogholsters.com. Use the discount code, the rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster today on a discount. And then finally, you can find all things tactical except the gun at uscombatgear.com. That's going to be it for today's program. We very much appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing the program and encouraging your friends to do the same. We will be back tomorrow on Hump Day. Till then, you folks stay safe, have fun, and if you get a chance, send a few downrange. Holler at you later.